Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this call about money, money, money. So, what does money mean to you? When do you all think of money? What makes you think of money? And when you think of money, what comes up for you? So I'm going to ask you all those questions. You can answer it any which way you want. So when you think of money, what comes up for you? Nothing? Oh, nobody wants money, so you don't think about money. Okay, I got it. I got it, no problem. Is it true, really? When money comes up for you, when you think about money, what do you think of? If I say think of money, but what do you think of?
Increasing the business, whatever you're selling, whatever you're doing, you need to increase your business and your turnovers. That is the way you increase your profit.
Okay. What is your product?
And keep the money.
What is the product?
Sorry?
Are you selling a product?
Okay, the product. Yeah, yes. We are selling ceiling fans actually, fans and some other products like geysers and all, appliances basically.
Appliances. Okay, awesome. Okay. So when you think of money, for you, it is thinking about revenue generation and it's thinking about the business. Okay, got it.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else? When do you think of money? So Gagan, do you think of it end of the month, beginning of the month? When do you think?
24/7.
24/7. 24/7.
Deepa, can you just excuse me for a minute? Actually,
No, you can drop out anytime. You don't have to interrupt the call.
Just one small minute break and then I'll join you back. I just wanted to put the map on.
Sure. So anybody else? Anybody else? When do you think about money? So for Gagan, it's 24/7. Who else thinks about money? And when do you think about money? Harish, do you think about money? Kavita, Nanda, do you think about money? Beji?
Whenever I want to buy something, I think of money.
Whenever you want to buy something, you think of money. Okay, thank you for that.
Deepa.
Yes.
We are in the process of constructing house. So like money is on our mind always.
All the time, money is on your mind. Okay, cool. So how awesome is that you have construction going on? I love the creation energy with construction. And yes, it does bring its, what do you say? Some things along with it where one could think a lot about money. Yes, payments, receiving, how to pay, when to pay, where to pay from, when to pay this person, how to manage the payments so that you can manage the flow, inflow and the outflow, and what else. So, there is a lot of juggling that goes on sometimes when there's a lot of creation going on. Have any of you experienced that? So you have a lot of creation going on, and sometimes you have to be tracking the money because otherwise you don't know where the money is coming and going. What else?
This happens to me even when I'm in the process of, creating a landscape. So I have to get payments. I have to pay my vendors.
And so what questions can we ask for this? So if you notice, I have to get paid and I have to pay my vendors. So there's a little bit of stress around that topic for many people. So what questions can we ask to change this for us? So one of the questions is, okay, what would it take for me to buy this with ease? So we're not even talking about money, but we're just saying, okay, what would it take for me to buy this with ease? What would it take for me to receive this with ease? Now, these are open-ended questions. Don't ask, how can I buy this? How means you're getting into the attachment of what mode of processing you're going to use to receive that money, or how will I get it? From where will I get it? Who will give it to me? And all those questions. And what if we don't have to get attached to that and ask, what would it take for me to receive money with ease? And that's an expansive question. And when you ask expansive questions, the universe is just waiting to contribute, and it can contribute a lot of energies for you to start receiving the money with expansiveness.
Can you explain this a bit more?
Okay. So supposing we want to go, let us say, from one city to another. We would be talking about, okay, I want to go from here to here. And we get attached to the topic of, should I go walking? Should I take a flight? Should I go by train? Should I do this mode? And when will I reach? Which flight should I take? And all those things. Okay. So recently, there were a few children who had just finished their 12th standard exams, which is like A-level exams. For those of you who are in a different educational system. And after that, they plan to go to a holiday destination in India. So they were all 10 girls traveling from Bangalore to Goa. And as they went to book the tickets, they found that the train tickets were not available because there was something not going so well with the train track. So all the trains on that track along that route alone had been cancelled for repairs. So these girls were in the question of what else is possible, what else is possible. And as they looked for flight tickets, looks like many people were heading towards Goa, and there was a high demand on Goa as a destination, and the prices were going up quite high. So if they had had an attachment to how to reach Goa, then they might have, had very few possibilities. Now, as I said, okay, they were more in the mode like, okay, when can we go to Goa and have some fun? Okay, what would it take for us to have fun at Goa? It was probably a question running for most of them, and they were not attached to the result. So another tool is when you're not attached to the result. When you're not attached to the result, it's actually easier for energies such as money to flow. And guess what? One of those girls' father actually used to regularly hire a jet plane to do some of his work, some of his business work. And he said, you know what? And none of the other girls even knew that they had such an arrangement in that person's business. Some of them didn't even know that person's name and what business they were in. And he says, you know what? I have this private jet plane, and I think I'm not using it on those dates. If you want, he told his daughter, if you want, you and your friends can take that. It was a 16-seater jet plane, and 10 of the girls went there with a lot of ease and joy. Did they have fun? Does it give you a little bit of a sense, Gagan? When you don't get attached to the result of how the money will come, from where the money will come, and we just ask questions with what, and questions which are expansive, which are not attached to how will I pay this? How can I get, so much money by this date? Those are all vested interests. When you don't get attached to that, it's actually easier to receive money.
Okay.
And I totally get what Kavita is also talking about. About 2 years ago, we started the renovation of the place we moved to. And we thought we'll just change one or two things. And then we added this, we added that, we added that, we added this. And it was a whole different thing. And we said, okay, so if we move in, we probably won't, renovate for the next 5-6 years for sure. So let's make sure this is redone, that is done. Let's do this fresh. Okay, let's create a bathroom here. Let's do this. We really changed the whole thing. And yes, did it require money? Yes. Being in the question opened up some new possibilities, and we actually reviewed some investment that we made, my husband and I, and we were able to create that money with a lot of ease to it, come and flow in. So yes, we did have payments to make, but money was not always on our mind. And that was an investment we had stopped thinking about. We thought we had to keep investing in that insurance policy, which had come up to a good amount. And we were like, okay, when does it mature? And we realized that we had actually put a maturity date of something like when we were 80 plus years old. And we said, what would the hell would we do with the money when we are 80 plus instead of enjoying it now? So we just said, okay, let's surrender this policy and take that money out. And that was a huge, huge contribution. So being in the question, we did not have this, we did not decide in advance, this is going to solve our problem. That is where the money is going to come from. And when you're not attached to the result, when you are willing to continue to be in the question, that means asking on one day may not be enough. So you ask again on another day, what would it take for me to receive money with ease? And how much fun can I have with this project? So can you have fun if your client is not paying you?
No,
I think you're muted.
no.
No, exactly. So when you ask a question, what would it take for me to have fun with this project? Money would also flow easily because you're willing to allow fun. If business is not fun for you, why are you even doing it? Ask yourselves that. If business is not fun, why are you in that business? Either you have to declutter your thoughts so that you start enjoying this business, or start asking, is this time for me to now enjoy a new business too? And there are some businesses which can run by themselves. And what if you could invest your, energies, time, effort, whatever else you want to put into generating a new business, starting a new business and creating a new revenue stream? What would it take for you to allow that? So what is a new revenue stream? What is a revenue stream? A revenue stream is basically a money inflow. Doesn't matter what it is. So even if it's a savings account, you've got some money parked there, that gains some interest over there. Some of you may have a book published and you get money from that. You may have, a place on rent and you get money from that. Some of you may just have a plot and you're wondering what to do with it. And if it's close to a commercial area, actually you can even rent it out to people to park their cars. Companies are always out of space to have, to provide employee parking. So there might be somebody who's interested in that. So you being in the question and allowing new business revenues can actually automatically create some new ideas for you, or somebody will come and ping you and ask, is this okay with you? How is this option for you? So when you ask a question, an expansive question, what takes place? Excuse me. Your energies start to shift and change. Your energies start to shift and change. And when your energies start to shift and change, new possibilities could come up in your world? So a person has messaged to say, me and my husband are having a disagreement and argument as her husband has agreed to give a loan to his brother, which this person doesn't like. And she's asking, would this situation impact my energy towards money? It could, it may not, totally choice. What does that mean? So we may get so angry and upset. Supposing this money does get lent. So then we would make the spouse wrong. Why did he give the money away, even though I told him not to give it? And then we have already made his brother wrong, and we made the money interaction wrong. So we made a lot of things wrong in the process. Yes, it could impact your money flows. But if you move to a space where you don't have a point of view about it, then you could allow that money to flow into, or money from some other place to flow into. What do I mean? Sometimes we have a secret hidden agenda not to receive money from some people. So supposing your spouse wanted to give money as a loan to one of his relatives and you're against it. And supposing that person returned the money, what would you do? You'd be very happy with that person. But we might sometimes, in the meantime, have a secret hidden agenda with this person that I hate this, and they give the loan without asking me. I told them not to give this, and then this person never returns on time, or whatever other opinion we might have about it. Like I know people who said, if you give money as a loan to family members, it will spoil your relationship with the family member. Is that true? Or it's just an interesting point of view? What if it's just an interesting point of view? What we think, we believe in, will get created. Your thoughts are so powerful. All of you, guess what? Whatever is working in your life in the area of money, you created it. And whatever is not working in your life, you created that too. So when you change your thoughts, excuse me, when you change your thoughts, you could actually invite more money into your life. There is this book by Gary Douglas, who is the founder of Access. He's written a book called Money is Not the Problem, You Are. We think, I'm ready, but my business is not doing well. I'm ready, but these guys have not paid me. I'm ready, but blah, 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 blah. Actually, you know what? Our thoughts are coming in the way of creating and receiving greater money. So you can ask, what thoughts can I choose to receive more money today? That's an awesome question too. Sure. This person has just responded to say, thank you. I will change my thoughts towards the point of view so that, I can clear up things and invite money. Yes. What if you could be the invitation for money? What if you could be the invitation for money? Then what else is possible? Okay. So who else has something to discuss about money? What would your question be? Anybody has any question? Nobody. Okay, so we can end the call now. Nobody has any questions about money.
Deepa?
Thank you all for joining.
No.
Hi, Deepa,
Wait.
Pooja here. I will go.
Sure.
I'll ask the question.
Sure. Who's talking?
Pooja.
Pooja. Yes, go ahead, please.
So what happened recently, I had to, buy these pair of shoes, and what I liked, they were really expensive, some 10 grands or something. And but back of my mind, I was always like, should I buy? Should I buy? Do I need it? And because it's just going to be for office wear or anything, and these days you're working from home most of the times. How many times do you go out? So I was just trying to do all the logical calculations. Should I buy? Should I? But then there was this thing. Should I really buy? Is it worth it? So I think there was some charge around it.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. So and then I think, and then what happened is I finally said, okay, anyway, I'll just buy it. And then later on, when I was at the billing counter, I just saw that there was some crack sort of a thing in the shoe, and then I said, no, I'll not buy this. So I think probably I created that for myself because I had already that, okay, this is already expensive and things like that.
Got it. Okay. So do you have a question?
Yeah, so the question I think is more around that energy that we create when we see something which is expensive. It's not in terms of whether you can buy it or not, but then in terms of what value you get out of it, right? Something when you buy which is more, had it been some 2,000-3,000, I wouldn't have even thought about it. But because it was 10K, I was thinking, I would have spent some 1.5 hours just roaming around. Should I buy? Should I not buy?
Cool. Okay, so there's a tool that goes something like this. If money was not a consideration, then what would I choose? Supposing the amount you're going to pay for it is not the consideration, then what else is possible?
Right.
So there's an example of Dane here. He's the co-creator of Access, and he wanted to buy a printer. And he was clear that the printer must have these features, this. And he from his knowing, which was also including some conclusions at that time, he knew somewhere that it has to be an expensive printer because it had to have so many features. So that is the energy some of us have, where we go from the space of conclusion, I must have this, or there is no other way to it, or this is the only way to buy this, or whatever. So he had that at that time. And he and Gary were shopping together for it. And he was clear, Dane, that there was one printer they saw, it costed about, I think, some $400 or something. And he was clear that is the one that was required. And then Gary, but he said, I can't afford this. It's too expensive at that time. And then Gary said, okay, if money was not the consideration, would you still buy it? And he thought about it and he said, okay, Gary said, okay, wait another day or two and let's see what else is possible. So the very next day, it so happened that they walked into a place and they found a printer that was much smaller in size and had all the features that Dane wanted. And it just costed like, I think 1/4 the price, like some $100-something, which was easy, which was something very light, not just with respect to the amount of money Dane had to pay, but also about what contribution that would be to him. And meanwhile, Dane also realized that if he had bought the other printer, he wouldn't have had any space in his office room because that previous printer they had looked at the earlier day was like huge. It was huge and it would have taken up a lot of space in his office room. And this printer was the right size. So then he realized, wow, what an amazing tool. Pooja was meanwhile sending a heart emoji to say, wow, I like that. So when money is not the consideration, then so much is possible. So when I was doing the renovation, there was one part of the house where I wanted something different on the walls. It is outside the house, actually, at the back. And I wanted something, but somebody quoted a big amount for that, like 70,000 rupees. That's about $1,000 US dollars. And I felt, okay, it's not so urgent that I have to do it now. I'll look at this later, and I just postponed it. And later on, when I discussed it with somebody, they said, these pictures that you want painted on the walls, Deepa, it will make the place look very heavy. Is that the look that you want? And I was like, no, I don't think you're right. Actually, I don't think I want that look. So I kept looking at what else is possible. And then I forgot about it. I was busy doing something else and creating some other things. It's about a year that we shifted, a little more than a year. And about 2 months ago, something just opened up for me in that area. And I called this painter guy, and he does wall painting the way I'm looking for it, which is not just a plain thing, but painting some, decoration or some ideas on the wall. And so it was really interesting. I like this guy's work. I could work with him, and he was working with me and saying, okay, I'm just going to do the base painting first. And he painted these lovely bamboo trees and, kind of thing. And it was really looking good. I really liked it. I was like, wow, that was so cool. And then I said, okay, can you touch this up here? Can you do this here? Can you do that there? And he actually did that the way I desired. And it came at like, how much? I think 1/5 of the price that was earlier quoted to me. And when I moved to a space of no point of view about it, what was a contribution actually showed up in my life. Now, the rest of the garden in that area actually integrates well with this wall painting. If I had planned that other wall painting that I had, been so clear on, sometimes we think we have a lot of clarity on some things, right? So I was thinking, I'm very clear on this picture. I love this picture, but that would not have gone so well with the rest of the garden. And I had made that right for me. So that is another tool where when we make something right for us, we are not willing to be in the question and ask what else is possible. Always, always ask, what else is possible? How does it get better than that? To allow a shift in your energies. You may still choose the same thing, but when we are not attached to the result, then so much more is possible. Someone has sent a message. Let me just read that. I want to speak regarding a task update. Okay, so I'm not getting your question. You wanted to speak in a meeting with the project manager, but you could not speak. Is that what you're saying? So what is that about? So what is it about? It depends on the topic. Can you speak now or message? Is it related to the topic of money or some idea that was coming up for you? Okay, so let's wait for this person to respond. Moving on to some other topic. So,
Deepa, I have one question. Can I go,
Yes.
Kavita?
Yes, please.
See, we are trying to get a loan for a home loan, but we're not able to get as much as we want for the construction. So we always have this argument like, should we scale it down? I said, no, I want the house as we have planned. So how do we go about that? I keep asking that question, what else is possible? But what else?
Ask
Can
your
we do?
house. Ask your house. How does it want to look? What does it want to look like? Ask the house. What do you want to look like?
See, I have an image, like it's like I'm already living in that house. So I don't want to change that.
Okay. So when we make something right for us, that this is what I want, then we are not allowing the space for new possibilities. I get it totally what you're saying. There were times when I would want something in a room and my husband would want something totally different. And the interior guy is looking at both of us and he's suggesting a third thing. Okay. He's suggesting something, and that's as he suggested, we both would discover that we want some other thing in the room. And then I'm like, wow, now which one out of all these three options, are we going to choose one of these three, or are we going to choose yet something different? Okay. And then I said, okay, what if I let this go and ask the room, how would you like to look like? And that started creating so much of ease, because I was firing myself from what is right and wrong and good and bad about it. When you do that, new possibilities could show up. For example, this space is my office space. So I asked this room, what contribution can you be to me and to my business? I would ask a different room, a different question. How would you like to look like? I didn't have an idea how it's going to look. The room actually created itself. Each of the sides of the room look different. The color schemes are different. And overall, it's not a boring standard look. I'm not going to show you the other sides today so that you'll come in person to see it. So you're all invited to come. And Kavita, I know you get work here sometimes. If nothing else, you can just show up and say hi, come.
Yes, it's a long
Anyways,
time.
I'm coming tomorrow morning.
Yes, correct. Definitely we'll meet you too. Looking forward to that. So when you give up what you have made, right or wrong, good or bad, new possibilities could show up. Are you willing to allow new possibilities to show up? Sometimes when we are fixated that this is what is going to show up, we actually reduce the possibilities. And there were some parts of the house where I was like, I wanted to build the entrance in a particular way, at a particular angle, so that, if my mother should come on a wheelchair, it'll be convenient. And it was just not showing up the way I had decided it should. And even while talking to the vendors who could do it, the energy wouldn't shift and move. So I kept saying, okay, let's look at it another time. Then the next time I would try and talk to somebody else, some new vendor, maybe that's not the vendor that will work. It still wasn't moving. It just wasn't shifting. I was always trying to see how would my mother walk up this place? How will she move up this place? And I wasn't getting. I could have just asked, okay, what is the space? What would the space like to look like? What would the space like to be like? What contribution can that be to people walking up here? I could have been in that question. I wasn't in that question. And around the time the renovation was getting ready, almost ready it was, except the entrance was not yet ready. And inside the house, there were certain rooms which were not yet ready. My mother suddenly passed away. Okay. I was busy for a few weeks, and then I came to the house to see how the renovation is going on and what else is possible. And I spoke to a vendor about the entrance. I said, hey, let's do this pathway. And suddenly it was ease and joy, and there was no problem at all. Within 10 minutes, we chose about how the entrance should look like. I was surprised. I said, what happened all these days? I didn't have the clarity of what was going on. I'd made something right. Continuously, I was in the question, how will my mother walk up here? Rather than being in an expansive question of including everybody. My mother didn't choose to come to this house. She chose to leave earlier. That was her choice, okay? And what if we could honor her choice? What if we didn't have to judge her choice? When we make something right or wrong, good or bad, we get stuck in that. This is the way we always do business. This is the way we always create a house. This is the way things should be. I have the full perspective of how this should look. And when you do that, we get stuck. Judgment is one of the things that doesn't allow money movement easily, and also doesn't allow creation very easily. So anytime things are stuck, look at what have I made? Ask yourself, what have I made right or wrong, good or bad here, that I could allow a change? If I didn't have any point of view about what this would look like, be like, then what else is possible? what contribution can I be to this house? And you can ask the house, what contribution would you like to be to us? The house is an entity by itself, by the way. I hate to break your bubble. The house is an entity by itself, and when we don't allow it to choose, sometimes it kind of gets adamant and chooses different. We may think people are adamant. Yeah, that too. Have you seen with a child, young child, when we tell them, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do the child after some time stops listening to those parents. If there are too many do's and don'ts going on, the child just stops listening. That's what takes place with our business. I know what to do. I know very well this is the right way to do it. And that's how we go about creating our business, our houses, our life. And that's when sometimes there is a stuckness. Being the question, what else is possible here? What would it take for me to have so much fun, so much fun, so much fun in this house that I never imagined possible? How much fun can I have creating this house? When I used to start, some of the days I used to come, I used to have a heavy energy. I was like, okay, what am I aware of today? And then I would just be aware of all sorts of energies. And I said, okay, forget all that. Now, instead, how much fun am I willing to have today? And when I used to ask those questions, sometimes I would come and speak only to 1 or 2 vendors that day and go. Sometimes I would speak to as many as 9 vendors in the house. And like, I would have come one day to fix up 2 ACs, air conditioners that had been ordered earlier. And suddenly on that day, 2 new air conditioners, which we didn't think would be delivered on that day, would get delivered. And this guy at the same time would fix up the other 2. I'm like, wow, that was easy. The guy is already here and I don't have to coordinate for this and come again on a different day. Because I was actually staying about 30 kilometers from here. So it used to take me some time to come here. So I could come here to this place only once or twice a week, not every day of the week. So sometimes I would stay on here at a friend's house and come for continuous 2 or 3 days. But most of my work was at the other part of the city. So I wasn't here every day to just pop in and see the work going on. And me being in those questions could just shift and change the whole thing. So play with that. Who else has a question about money?
Hi, ma'am. This is Kavita. I have a question.
Sure.
So actually, I'm working hard to get this license for my company. It's kind of import license and manufacturing license. So I'm saving around in a lakhs for the company. I'm contributing so much, but I like to get that back. Like this is appraisal time, so I like to double my annual income. So what tools can I use for the to double my package?
Ask what would it take for me to
in one way,
just
I'm saving
see.
money for the company and I'm taking all the tasks and I'm doing it. If they go ahead with the consultants, they have to pay a lot of money, like 5 to 10 lakhs. So can I directly approach to the managers, or what is the tools energetically I can use to attract that money towards me?
Yes, definitely you can ask to, be in the question. At the same time, managers love to see, Excel sheets and some calculations and all that. So put that in. Ask, how can I present this to the manager or to this company in a way that will create greater for me and for the company?
Okay.
And put that together, send it to them or show it to them. And just say, I'm happy that this is what I've been able to do for the company so far. I just wanted to share this with you. Okay, so share the information and be in the question. What would it take for me to receive double my current income with total ease?
Okay.
And ask for it. What if you were not attached to the outcome?
Okay.
When we're not attached to the result, it can actually create greater.
Okay.
When we are attached to the result, it's not easy for creation.
Okay.
Are there?
Okay, fine. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Just mute yourself because I think there's some background noise. Thank you so much for that question. What else is possible? What else would you like to create in your relationship to money? Have any of you played with
How
the
to-
tool, ask and you shall receive? Have any of you played with the tool, ask and you shall receive? Ask the universe for
No.
money and you could receive.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Anybody who has played with that tool?
Would like to know more about this tool, please.
Okay, let me ask Kavita. Kavita Kumar.
Okay.
Have you played with this tool? Ask and you shall receive.
I have tried, but yeah, the way I'm saying I've tried only, I know. I'm not.
Is that really true? So were
No,
you
I'm
actually
not.
being that question with just during COVID time? If you remember, just before COVID, I remember, you don't remember. That's so interesting. Just before COVID, I think you had attended the bars class and something you chose or you let go of in that class after, I think that was the last weekend before COVID was announced in India. Lockdown was announced in India. And then even during lockdown, you got so many business assignments. Am I right?
I restarted my business.
You restarted, exactly. And you got so many assignments, yes or no? And most of the world was saying, oh, COVID times, business will be bad. Oh, COVID times, we can't start a new thing. And you actually started and just, I mean, you restarted, but you actually just started receiving so many assignments. So were you, sometimes we're not verbally asking a question, but our energy has changed. So we are being that invitation. So can you get, Kavita, how you were being that invitation?
Yeah, how do I get that energy back?
Oh, you cannot get it back. That's impossible. Okay, no, just kidding. So what if you could ask for that? That's your energy. Ask for that energy to show up again. What would it take for me to allow that energy to show up in my world? And what if you could create greater than that too? So ask and you shall receive is an amazing, amazing tool. So like, for example, people have been asking, what question can I ask here to increase my, income, make it double or some other thing? Those are questions. When you ask expansive questions, the universe is just waiting to contribute energy to that. Ask and you shall receive. And when I started renovation, I didn't have a clue where the money is going to come from. I just knew that, we were moving here and I knew that it had to get created. I was not attached to where the money would come from. I also wasn't attached to how the house would look. And we renovated, strangely, every single room in the house. Every single room had some change or the other, except our living room. I was so surprised. I kept asking the room, what do you want to look like? And the interior guy said, ma'am, let this room be. And he was the one who had suggested how the room had to look about 15 years ago. And he said, it's okay, no need to change it. And I was like, really? No need to change this room? I thought we're going to do something different in the living room. And the living room, just let that be. And the changes we created, the living rooms look so different. The changes we created were in the soft furnishings. That means the curtain, the sofas, the cushions that went with it, and some wall paintings. That's it. Those pictures on the wall and the rest of the soft furnishing, that's what created that room. I was so surprised. I was like, wow. So when we don't get attached to this is how the room should look, this is how the house should be, so much more is possible. I was surprised. I really wanted to do something different in that room. And I was initially making that interior guy wrong. I said, why are you neglecting this room? He said, no, ma'am, we'll see it later. We'll see it later. But he had something in his head. And he was clear, let this be, he said, after some, months, 2-3 months later, he's still not started, planning for that room. And now that the house is done and we're living here, I'm so grateful that he didn't have to change that room, and neither did we insist on it. So if money is not the consideration, what would my house like to look like? If I had no point of view over here, what would my room like to look like?
So what's the question to ask the universe, Deepa?
All these, what I said just now, those are all questions to ask the universe. Although you seem like you're connecting to a house or to a room, the universe over there is what it is, which you're creating, right? That's your universe. That's your world there. Anyone else has a question? That might be our last question now. So questions are an amazing, amazing tool. You asking certain questions can actually invite certain possibilities in your life. I have a YouTube video called The Power of Asking Questions. So I sent it to somebody who, she had come for a few sessions. She hadn't yet attended any bars class or anything like that. I just sent her that. A few videos I sent. Among that was this video too. After a few months, I'm talking to her. She's a coach, actually. And after a few months, I was talking to her. She said, after that video, I have received so many invitations abroad. I have been, like, my business has just expanded. Earlier, I used to pay for things related to my business. I said, what do you mean? She said, if I had to conduct a class in another city, I would go, pay for my to and fro trip, pay for my accommodation, conduct the class, raise the invoice, and I would be paid 3 months later for my flight, for my accommodation, and for the workshop. I said, wow, that's so interesting. And she says, now after asking these questions, I've started getting assignments outside my country. I'm no longer doing assignments only in India. I've been getting assignments in other countries, and they pay my to and fro fare. They, apply for the visa. They get it for me. They pay for my accommodation. And it's a lot of ease. In all these years, I've never received assignments abroad like this. And she had actually got it from a free video. I was like, wow, really? That video created that? I went back and listened to that video. I said, what did I say over there that created so much for her? So being in the question is an amazing, amazing tool. Being in the question means asking a question and being that energy. Again, asking that question without having a point of view about how it will show up. Like that girl, those girls I was telling you, they didn't have a point of view about how they're going to reach Goa. And a friend's father contributed a private jet for them. Who would have thought of that? People will think, oh, who would pay for such things? It will be expensive, and have a point of view about that too. Even flights, they were thinking they are going very expensive. So when you're willing to just allow new energies, different energies, it can show up in a whole different way. So what energy, space, consciousness, and choice can my body and I be to be the invitation for money with total ease? That's also an amazing question to ask. Cool. Thank you all for joining in today.
Thank you so much, Deepa.
Thank you so much. Let us have a small picture.
Yes, sure.
Smile, please.